these children are bored to death with the system. They want the images coming at them at light speed, really fast. The computer is an extension of their brain. And we have created a new type of child that is ready to, I mean, when they come into the line, they're going to do things with this computer you can't even imagine, because they are a new kind of person that have emerged. And this has happened, and it's real. And many of you probably have indigo children and may not know it. But I really, really, really recommend that you read this book if you've got kids, because you can't treat them in the same way. First of all, they're totally telepathic and they know everything you're thinking, and if you lie to them, they know it. And they will react back to you in a certain way. And you have to be able to raise them in a whole new manner. And these are all the psychologists and the doctors and everything are telling you what you have to do in order to raise an indigo child. There probably are ones that are older, but they first started seeing the wave of them coming through in about 1988. And so most of them are 11 years old or younger, the vast majority of them. And that's rising faster now. It's risen. So right now it's up to about 80, they're estimating. It wasn't in the beginning, but at this point in 1999, according to this book, which just came out a couple months ago, that it's about 80 to 90%. And these children are going to have an impact on the world and on the United States in a way that we can't even imagine right now. We really can't, because it's still children, they're still babies, and who they really are and what they're going to mean is something extraordinary. I'm communicating with Billy Zane, you know, the guy, the actor who is on Titanic and did the whole thing with Cleopatra and all that stuff. He's actually a really beautiful person inside, and he's doing all kinds of things, and they're setting up a thing with Microsoft right now to create a new kind of television to deal with these children. A whole new way of TV, which they will appreciate, because the TV, Microsoft has invented this new software program that you can connect your television in through the computer or your computer in through the television, and it has a special little remote so you don't need to use the keyboard, and it shrinks the screen down and puts icons all around the outside. The inside is the TV, so back at the station they're commuting through there, but you can totally interact with the television through this little thing, which will give rapid interaction for the children, which is exactly aimed at these new kinds of kids. And this is a big deal. It's going to come out relatively soon. They're going as fast as they can. And because the indigo children right now, the old way of raising kids and the speed at which everything is going, and the ways you take, a month to learn a few words and all this kind of stuff, it's just like yuck, and they just want to drop out. It's too slow. You got to really step it up, And if you find any of the indigo children, if you put them into any area that they are interested in, no matter what you think of them, when they get to that area, if they like it, if they're interested in that area, I don't care what it is, they'll become a genius overnight. All of a sudden, their whole thing blossoms out, and they can shoot for it. And so, be aware that this is happening. So you know, because these little guys running around are not who you think they are. They're really something else. That's the first race. There's another race being emerged. And this one's documented in a book by Greg Braden, Walking Between the Worlds. Is Greg Braden here? He was maybe going to show up. I guess he didn't. He didn't make it. Okay. If he was going to hear, I was just going to let him tell about it. But Greg is a great guy. I really respect the work that he's doing, and not only the work that he's doing, but as a person, he's a really good person. But he was the first one to bring forth the second race of beings that are being born. About 10 years ago, and this second race I'm calling, there's no name for it, so I'm calling it the children of AIDS, the disease AIDS. They found this child who was born with AIDS, He definitely was filled with AIDS. It wasn't HIV, he had AIDS. His mom had AIDS and he was born from it. And they checked him at birth and he had AIDS, and they checked him 6 months later and he had AIDS, and I think they checked him a year later and he had AIDS. And then they didn't check him again until he was in kindergarten. And they checked him in kindergarten when he went to school, and there was no trace. It did not exist in his body. No HIV, no nothing. In fact, the conclusion was, it not only didn't exist, it was not hidden or anything anywhere in his being. It simply wasn't there anymore. And they had never seen that before. And many different research people jumped on board there to try to determine what was going on. You had the University of California, UCLA, and you also had the Aaron Diamond Research Center in New York, which researches only AIDS, and there were other universities that began to check this out. And when the Aaron Diamond Research Center checked him out, I believe that's who it was. I might get my research sources here mixed up, but it could have been UCLA. They took a petri dish and they put HIV in it on a very, very, very high level, like 100 times over what would be necessary to infect someone. They took some of this kid's cells and they put them in there. Nothing happened. Totally immune. So they kept making it more and more poisonous, and they kept raising the level of toxicity. And they finally got up to 3,000 times over what would be necessary to infect anybody. It'd be so poisonous that if you didn't even look at that stuff, you'd probably get sick. And no effect. And they began to check him on other diseases and began to realize that his immune system was so strong that he was immune to disease, period. Everything. He couldn't get sick. And they checked his DNA. This is one we do know. They checked the DNA of this child, and he didn't have human DNA. He wasn't a human being. Human DNA is very specific. It has so many strands, so many chromosomes, so many codons. It's very, very, very specific. He didn't have that. He had something else. The primary change, which was not in the number of strands, which is what everybody's been predicting, or in the chromosome levels or anything else, it was in the codons. The codons are made up of the nucleic acids. There's 4 nucleic acids. The nucleic acids combine in sets of 3, producing 64 possible codons. And by the way, the arrangement of the codons and how they are created is absolutely identical to the I Ching. And so in fact, the entire DNA molecule is exactly the same as the DNA. As the I Ching. So the DNA and the I Ching are precise matches. So that's one of the oldest books in the world, and they knew this. It's another indication that we were somebody else once, a long time ago. A little more intelligent than we are now, probably. And but these codons, to me, are like software programs in a computer. You can have the greatest computer in the world sitting there, but so what if there's no software in it? And depending on the software that you put into the computer will do different things. Well, the human DNA has 20 of these 64 possible codons turned on. And that's just the way it's always been. These kids have 24. They have 4 new codons turned on. In the old way of looking at codons, they thought they were things of the past and that we no longer used anymore. Now they're beginning to suspect that they're actually things of the future, that because of these children. And there's actually 6 codons that they've identified which they are, but each one of the children chooses 4 of the 6. So we're actually getting many different kinds of DNA molecules and different kinds of immune systems that are being emerging here. It's life's way of diversifying and finding out which one probably is the best. Eventually maybe we'll choose them all eventually, I don't know. But we don't even know what really the differences is. But we do know is that these kids have an immune system like the world has never, ever seen before. And when they found this one kid, if it was just this one kid, he would just be sort of this weird little kid, and so what? But they then discovered another one, and then another one, then 1,000 of them, then 10,000 of them, then 100,000 of them. And according to the Aaron Diamond Institute in New York now, They estimate by watching I believe it's the world's DNA testing, that approximately 1% of the population has this new DNA. Well, on October 12th of this year, the United Nations says that we're going to have 6 billion people in the world. The 6 billionth person will be born on that day. And that means that on that day, there would be 60 million kids in the world with this new DNA. There's so many of these new kids that they believe really, really, really that a new human race is being born at this moment. And this is extraordinary. Do you want to hear something even more extraordinary? About this. Do you remember in the Bible code? You can go to Jeffrey Satinover's book on page 164. There is a thing there. What they did is they put the word AIDS into the Bible code to see what would happen. And it rearranges the matrix, and there's the word AIDS, and all around it is all the words you would expect. HIV, in the blood, the immune system, death, on and on and on. There's like 30 words came up, exactly what you would expect around AIDS. Except down in the bottom was this little statement that the Hebrew University didn't know what it meant because they didn't know the information I'm just giving you about the children. But down in the bottom was the word associated with AIDS, the end of all disease. And I think that is exactly what we're witnessing here right now, is a new race that is immune, period in the end, to disease. And this is the beginning of what, the Bible said this, that there would come a time when there would be no more disease, and there would be all these things that it talked about. And but this is not going to happen someday. It is here now. It's real. And it's actually happening. And so you have two different kinds of children emerging. You have these super brilliant technological children that are emerging, and you also have these other children that can't get sick. There's a third kind. And the third one is extremely interesting to me. And there's been a book finally written about them too, also coming out just recently. This book is called China's Super Psychics. It's by a man named Paul Dong and D-O-N-G and Thomas Raffill, R-A-F-F-I-L-L. I really recommend you read this one, because for those of you that were in the Flower of Life, you know that I talked about 1985 in the Omni magazine article. You see, in 1976, there was this one little Chinese child that emerged. And this child was able to see with his ears. He could literally see with his ears. And this was kind of unusual. and they did tons of testing on him, and initially from 1976 until somewhere in the mid-'80s, around in there, the scientific aspect of the Chinese government just thought this stuff was crazy, that they wouldn't believe it. There were debates going on all around. There was this huge side that believed in the new psychic kids and the other side that did not, and they were fighting each other. Now the scientific side that was fighting each other, that said it wasn't true, had become silent, and they're letting go, and now they've swung over the other way, and the Chinese government has now put up huge schools to train these kids into what's emerging over there. Well, let's look at what they can do. First of all, this kid could read. He could take a book and put it on his ear. Says blindfolded, couldn't see a thing. He could put a book on his ear and read it perfectly. In the Omni magazine, if you remember, they allowed them to test some of these kids, and they took books at random, and they would go through a pile of books and go, find a book, rip out a page, crumple it up, and stick it under the kid's armpit, and they can read it perfectly. 100% perfect. 100%. And they checked all these kids, and they did all kinds of tests on them, and finally came up to the conclusion that it was real, but they didn't know what it meant or anything else. They didn't know what was really going on here. And that was in January 1985 in Omni. But Nature magazine, one of the most prestigious scientific magazines in the world, has written several articles on this and has done deep research on it, and their conclusion is that this is real too. They just don't know what it really means. Well, the kids now can read not only with their ears, but they can read with their nose, their mouth and tongue, their chin, their armpits, their hands, and their feet. And you can, and today we are fortunate enough to have one of these children here, and you'll be able to see for yourself that this is true. So you're very lucky. It's no longer just a guess or something else like that. You'll be able to see for your own self. It'll be when we come back after lunch, but you'll be able to spend time with her and see her. Though she's not from China, she is from Mexico. This phenomenon is occurring all over the world, though it originated, from the best we can tell, and I'm not positive of this, I don't know if anybody knows, it appears to be the biggest burst of these children were coming out of China. And, but that was only the beginning. The kids now have taken it to a level that is so absolutely ridiculous. That was the first thing where it all came out, was being able to see without the eyes. But now they're able to do almost anything imaginable. And they're doing things that like Superman could do, literally, to the extent that they can walk through walls, and it's being scientifically demonstrated. Literally walk through walls.
Are we going to see a demonstration of that?
I don't know. Probably not on that level. There's only 3 people in China that can walk through walls. 3 of them. But there's lots of them, probably 4,000 or 5,000 of them, that can take, and one of the things they do is they take sealed bottles of vitamins and things like this and different kinds of drugs, totally sealed up with the original thing, and they sit there, and right before video cameras and right before a scientific panel, they just sit there and focus, and the pills go right through the glass and onto the table. They bring them right out of the bottle onto the table. And they're also doing things that are kind of beautiful, where they'll hold a bud, a flower that's in a bud, and they give prana to it, and in a matter of minutes, the bud completely opens up and you can watch it fold up. They're even doing it now where they'll take an audience up to 1,000 people, and they're all holding the bud, and when the little girl goes, okay, now, all the buds in the room start opening up. You can watch it do it. It's been videoed, it's been checked by science, everything. This is really a real thing. They're able to, and it all depends on where the kids put their focus. Because we just live in a world of light. This is a dream we're in. And these kids are beginning to understand this. And one of them is able to calculate any mathematical equation known to man faster than computers can do it, and usually a lot faster. He can take complex equations that many times the computers go doing the whole thing, and he can do them in less than 2 seconds. He made one equation where it was written in there, it was a super complex equation that had 21 digits of accuracy that he had to come up with, and just does it in his head in 20 seconds it took to do this. There are kids that, oh gosh, there's one guy who is able to just point his finger and shoot a ball of light across the room and start fires across the room. There's several that can do that. One of the problems when they're learning how to do this is that they emit so much prana that they burn holes through their clothes as it's taken off, so they'll get holes all through their clothes, and this is when they're beginning and they're learning. Once they know how, they learn how to control that, and they don't have to do it. It's just prana. What the Chinese government is realizing is that it's tied to another area, an ancient other area of understanding, which is called Qigong. Qigong is the understanding of prana, life force energy, and or Qi. And Qigong is taking a huge new awakening in China right now, because they're finding that they can heal anything, they can heal anybody of anything, and these kids are amazing healers. A lot of them, they can just wave their hand and cancer and things are just gone. So they're walking around, they're doing things like Jesus did. only it's becoming normal. And this is really happening. We don't know if they have a different DNA, but what they did say, and you can show in here, is they've taken DNA and put it into a petri dish and had the kids sit there and look at it, and they have machines set up that were watching the spectrum of the DNA, and the kids can change the DNA with their thoughts. They've even been able to do it from a distance of 10,000 kilometers away. They've sent the kids to the United States, and while they're here, make a telephone call and said, okay, now, and the scientists are back there, and say, now, and so they know the timing is exactly when the kids are doing it, and they can sit there and watch the DNA change. Well, if they can do it, we can do it. You know? This is real. And, we've all been sitting around waiting for something to happen. Well, while we've all been waiting, the kids did it. It's coming from the children, from our children, from your children. Your children have done it. And the beauty about all of this was, about this time, was written right in the Bible also. The children will lead the way. Lead the way, meaning that we can follow them. We can follow their example. We can change also, if we choose. It's up to us. We don't have to. We can just sit here in this weird stuff if we want forever. But we can alter our own DNA in response to whatever is appropriate for us. And I don't know what that is. But I know this can be done. Because many of the children, the indigo children, are no longer children. They're finding the same change in adults that didn't have it before. You remember in the experiment in Japan, which we now call the 100th monkey theory, where they were watching these little Japanese monkeys, and there was this one female monkey. And by the way, it's almost all females who are doing this. It's a ratio, a very, very high ratio of females that know this, are able to do this in a much smaller level of males. But it was a little female monkey who learned how to take the sweet potato that had sand all over it and wash it. And then she taught her other kids how to do it. And then the moms sat there and said, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And they started doing it too. And it got to a certain number, and nobody knows what that number is, but it reached approximately 100. And when it did, bam, in a single moment of time, in less than one day, in less than 24 hours, it spread over the entire island. They all started washing them. It spread to other islands that were not even connected, and islands, many different islands, and all the monkeys of that species started washing their potatoes. It even spread to the mainland of Japan, where these monkeys started washing the potatoes, and it did it in like that. And I think that we're approaching that same thing. These children are changing the DNA. The adults are following behind them and doing this also, and we're rapidly approaching the 100th monkey in terms of this. I mean, this appears this way. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it doggone seems to be happening. That's for sure. And so, I mean, what do you say? Except that this is really very, very beautiful. You know, our governments right now are trying to figure out how China got all their secrets. These kids have demonstrated how they can go sit in a room and remove all the information out of a computer. They've also found out, which is the same thing that we've discovered, that psychic effects are stronger at a distance. The farther away you go, the more powerful they are. So sitting from China, they're much powerful, more powerful, they're able to do it better, and they can just go right into any of the Pentagon's computers and anything else and just remove them out. They don't have to come over here and do any espionage. They're already at this level. And I don't think that our government's going to want to bring that up. If it, you know, I mean, this is too scary to realize that there's a government out there that is developing a power, and they are developing this as a military power. There's no doubt. The governments of China has now corralled all of these children together, and they're creating schools, and they're focusing them and teaching them how to do this. Another really interesting result is this, is that many of the kids originally came out as naturally having the abilities. But then when they found that they found out how to teach other kids that did not naturally have the abilities, and the end result is the same. There's no difference. There's no, a natural psychic and a taught psychic are the same. The only difference is if the psychic has heart, if they love people. Only the psychics that love people can heal. The ones that do not are more into their ego, because you can have a lot of ego and still be involved in this, because it doesn't mean you're enlightened just because you can do all these things. They can't heal people. There's their main psychic there, when this guy who was one of the original ones, and he naturally was one of the first people. He's famous throughout China, and everybody has to constantly preen his ego all the time, because if he thinks for a moment, and he can read your mind, if you don't like him or anything like that, he'll do things to you to really hurt you. I mean, he set people's clothes on fire and everything. He gets angry, and so this is pretty clear that enlightenment and psychic development are not necessarily aligned, but the best healer in China was not a natural person. He learned it, and he learned it by studying Qigong. And what's happening now is all the kids and all the adults that have emerged out into that are learning how to do this are doing it by studying Qigong, studying the flow of prana through their body. And I find it interesting that the Chinese who have studied the flower of life and the Merkaba that we teach, they're calling this the Western Qigong, because it's a way of accessing prana directly. And you can either access it through all life around you, or you can access it directly through you, but it's really the same thing. Psychic abilities and healing are tied directly from the Chinese word directly through prana, through life force energy. There is a very, very, very definite connection between the two. Okay. I think this is enough time of talking. What we're going to do now is we've actually ended up 28 minutes early. This is great, because this will give us more time in the other end, which we really wanted to do. We're going to go to lunch now, and we can actually have an hour and 10 minutes. Since we were trying to push it before, because I know it's close. Well, we usually do an hour and a half, but we're trying to push it, so we've made enough time here. And when you come back, I'd ask you to do two things. First of all, pick a partner. Pick somebody you want to work with, because we're going to do some work that will be able to bring this understanding directly into you. And then second of all, to bring back, you all don't have to do this because we can't do everybody in the audience, but some of you bring back a photograph of perhaps a building, or say a person or a building that you're familiar with, like your house or something like that. Or you could use your driver's license or anything else like that. And at one point we're going to give a demonstration with this young woman on how you can actually see without your eyes. And so I'm just going to have people come up here at random, and you will be able to see for yourself that this is really real. And I don't know what else she'll do. Who knows? I don't know. But it's up to her. She'll take it on. So if you'll just bring back the photograph and choose a partner that you can work with. Choose somebody you like. It helps a lot. Just 1 second, yeah.
It's very important that the picture is very fresh.
You? Okay. One more. Wait. Her mom, Emma, just said it's easiest for her if you pick a picture that's new, that's relatively new, not like years and years and years old, because she goes by vibrations. And the vibrations, as the picture gets older and older and older, it's harder to sense. So if you pick pictures that are relatively new, it will make it a lot easier for her. Okay? And so if you'll just keep looking up here as little children, I would like... Sorry. I'm very honored, to say the least, to bring one of the new children up here. Okay? And so if you'll just keep looking up here as little children, I would like... Sorry. I'm very honored, to say the least, to bring one of the new children up here. She's living a little bit ahead of her time, but not too far. And her teacher also, and her mother, and I'm going to let her mother introduce her to you, and then from there on in, she can, you'll see for yourself. So Emma, if you come up here. And this is Emma. And here.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Drunvalo, because it has been very hard, and more in Mexico, because the mind is kind of close to believe. I'm sorry. It has been very, very hard since I had my 3 kids, because they were different. Because Dr. Altamirano, I knew him when they were very little, and I knew that they were things that my husband and I didn't understand. And thanks God, we could arrive to understand that our kids were different, and we really believe on them. And thanks God, they are right to be the human beings they are now. Guillermo, come here, please, because he started believing in this kind of kids in 1972. He developed the first girl in Mexico. When this happened, the NASA wanted to know about what was going on, and invite Dr. Altamirano and this little girl and the mom to make some tests in the United States. And that little girl, they put things with, electrical shocks, and this little girl was really, really hurt, and she decided not to do it anymore, because all these scientists didn't believe it. So it was very hard for him to start all this, but he continued, and nowadays in Mexico there are more than 1,000 kids like my kids. And we believe that if there is one kid like this, there will be more and more every day. So thank you, Guillermo. And thank you, Drunvalo. And I want to introduce Inge. Come. She is 18 years old, and she started doing this since she was very, very little, like 5 years old. And I have another daughter. The IQ is very, very high, and in Mexico they wanted to put it in a special school. My husband didn't want to do it, because he prefers she grows up like a normal kid, having what all the kids have. But she's a special girl. Like the other day, a boy in a school, in a different school, talked about her. So she went to the school, wait for the guy, confront him and say, I know that you talk very bad about myself. And I think this is something that not many women can do, but I'm going to do it because I know I can do it. And he punched him in the face. And we had to pay the bill of the hospital because she broke his nose. I have a son that is 14 years old, and he's a racer car. Since he was 8, he raced his first race. It was a rally, Mexico, Cuernavaca, and he won. And I was very criticized because they said, how can I be able to put my son in that danger? But my mother taught me when I was getting married and I was having this little pressure. When your kids are small, talk to them about God. When your kids grow up, talk to God about them. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, I want to thank very much for all the support and inviting me here. Drunvalo and to Tom, all the support that they have gave me. And I want to thank everything that Guillermo has done to me, gave me, and I'm very nervous, sorry. And I want to thank my parents to believe in me and to all the time be there for me when I needed or I didn't need them. When I was sad or I was really happy, they were always there. So thank you, Mom, for the family that you have gave me, that not everybody has. I'm sorry. And before starting, I don't care. Before I wanted to prove when I started to do this. When I was like 9 years old, I had a presentation in front of like 2 or 3 doctors, scientific, and they put like coins and wet Kleenex and everything on my eyes, and they were like picking my eyes. And I wanted to prove everybody that this exists, and that I really can do it. But after that day, I decided that I didn't care who believed or not. It was enough for me to believe to myself that I can do it. So if someone believes, only one person, it's enough, because if one person believes, in some years, many people will do it. So thank you very much, and I hope. So thank you very much, and we can start.
You got your mic. Is this mic now working? Just talk. So. You don't
Do you hear me?
Okay, go ahead. Do you want to bring someone up to check what you're having in the...
Yeah, whoever.
Is there somebody here that is a skeptic? Nobody wants to admit it. He's not one, but he wants to. He'll do this. She's going to just take Kleenex, and they're going to fold them up and put one in each of his eyes, and then wrap a thing around it, and for him to tell you if he could see anything. She wants you to know that she really can't see. They used to put tape around her eyes, but it hurts pulling it off.
You just put it in your eyes. You just put it in your eyes. And she's going to do this. Can you see something?
No.
Are you sure?
Can you see?
try.
Totally dark.
Okay, and even if you try to open your eyes, I think you can't.
That's correct.
Okay, so are you sure?
Yes.
Are you convinced that you can see?
It's totally dark, so there's no light coming in.
Okay.
Okay.
So
She's gonna.
I cannot put the same clinics as him because everybody has bad energy, like not positive, because a lot of things, it doesn't matter. So that's why I'm using another clinics, because I have the open conducts. That's why I do it. So that's why she's folding another 2 clinics.
Well, you stay here if you want.
But I will put it.
It'll be okay.
si no lo detienes con eso. Ahí está bien.
Sí, pero 2.
¿Eh?
2 no.
Okay. Now, if just at random, if about let's see, I'd say about 6 people, I don't know, something like that, want to come up here with either a picture or something. Okay. Okay. I can just show this to you what it is, to the audience. I don't know, so you can see. I don't know if you can see what it is, but I don't want to say what it is, okay? And I'm just going to hand it to her. Just upside. Yeah, if you guys can just sit down. Just hold on now.
For the work I do, I have to have a respect for the photograph I'm looking at, because I cannot intimate the person that I'm looking at. It's something personal, and I can see everything about that person, so I want the person of this photograph to tell me what do you want me to say and what far can I get to.
First of all, describe the photograph and what it is.
It's like he's in a forest. Well, there's a lot of plants here. It's not a forest. Here it's a house, and here he's like in the garden or something, and he's in the middle of the plants, and he's a little boy with short hair up to here, like black, with a sweatshirt and black pants and some tennis shoes. And here in the back there's like a lake.
Can you tell me what his state of mind is?
What? Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
His state of mind?
He has had a very hard time in school because he's like really intelligent, but he doesn't like to demonstrate what he can do or his potential because he doesn't care. So sometimes he has very bad grades. He's a very smart kid. He has seen a lot of things that he cannot explain to himself, so he cannot explain them to other people. So if you want him to explain them to you, you have to sit down with a lot of confidence and ask him really, really calm about it, because he knows a lot of many things going on in his mind, and he's very bothered in school. He just have like 1 or 2 friends, and one is a girl and the other one is a boy, but when the other boy and all the school invites, or all the classroom invites the other boy to play soccer or football, he goes with the other guys instead of staying with him. And he's a very liberal kid, and he doesn't like, he likes very much being alone. He likes the trees, all the nature things, and he's very totally liberal, and he feels that because all the world that we're living in, he's like, he feels that he cannot be that liberal because he has been like stopped by his family, by the school, by many things. So when he's alone, and he can cry and he can shout and he can laugh about himself or the trees or the birds or whatever, he feels really happy, and it's one of the moments that he really is happy.
How can we help him with his heart?
Let him be himself.
Thank you.
There's a lot of pressure on him, so there's a lot of things that he's keeping for himself because he doesn't have the confidence to talk about them and take them out and say his problems, what he really thinks, because all the time is, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to go, you have to be on time, you have to put the sweater, if not, you are going to be sick, or so he's like, he cannot talk, he feels that.
Does this feel right?
100%.
Okay. This one, it'd be hard to see what this is unless you look closely.
For example, one day when I first started to do this, I was like 14 years old, and a friend of mine comes to me and asked me if the girl that he liked was still virgin. And I said, "You're crazy. How can I tell you that? Like, it's her problem. Is if you want, ask her, but I'm not going to tell you." Like, like, for example, when there's a girlfriend and a boyfriend, a partner, that the girlfriend or the boyfriend tells me or gives me the photograph of her girlfriend or the contrary, and tell me everything about her. So I have to see what can I tell him or not, and if I can tell him the things that I can tell him, if he can help her. If not, I cannot tell him everything that he wants to, because it's her life, it's not his. It's the labyrinth that it's like in white, has a stick here. In the back there's like water. It's very dry, the floor, it's very dry. In the back there are trees. And it has helped the labyrinth, that place, because that place doesn't have very good energy around, and it has happened a lot of things here really weird. And after this, everything changed for the people living around, for the people going in through it. And there was a guy took the picture, but there was like a whole group behind him. And
when
here,
she's seeing a picture, she can move and she can see who took the picture, and she can explain the personality of the things or the way that person was dressed. And if they are like 4 persons in a picture and one of the person has a very bad energy, she can take the person she needs to talk about from the picture out of the picture. And I don't know what it is, this picture, but in the way she's moving, something that, with bad energy is there. So
very, very bad. It has changed with this, but here there's a person that maybe some people saw her, so she, and like she's taking care of the place because of all the things that are there. That's why all the things happen, weird or not weird. Maybe there are people that didn't really observe what was the sensation or what they felt being there.
It's a labyrinth in the field. It's a labyrinth in the field. That's exactly what she said. Oh, it was taken the day that it burned, so it's dry.
So did you see how she was moving? She felt the sensation. When Dr. Altamirano develop the kids, for example, now, they start with pictures of magazines. And sometimes the kids start, like, oh, I was beaten, or I was caught, or I was burned. And because it's a knife or a bee, or they can feel exactly, even sometimes the pain of what is in the picture, or even in a newspaper. In a newspaper it's difficult because it has been, in different hands. It's not the same thing like the picture, that it has been just, in 2 or 3 hands.
It's from her. Okay, here you go.
Well, it's not curtains. ¿Cómo se dice persianas? The mini blinds are closed. No, they're like a big. It's like opening them, and it's like a door, like a wall. It's she's like this with the hair up to here, with a white shirt and a scarf in pink. She had like a type of jeans on. The color of the jeans, it was like sweatpants and a flat shoes. Do you want me to tell you something about her? Or?
Yes, I'd like to know if she's following her destiny, where she is spiritually.
If she's following
Following her destiny.
Uh-huh.
in the spiritual realm, where she is with that and her journey.
She had a really hard time when she was little. I think her parents are separate, or they were divorced, or if they were together, they never had a real communication. And she never felt, if they were there together, she never felt that family. So that's what she really needed when she was little, and she didn't have enough love because she needed the family together. Her mother was with her a lot, but his dad, no, not at all. He really didn't care what she did or not. She felt really alone, and she's still like following that since she was little. Even if she has a partner or if she has friends around her, whatever, she feels alone, because that emptiness that she has since she was little, she feels that she can never really fill it up. So sometimes she doesn't know what, something tells her what to do, but sometimes she doesn't know, she's not sure that she's right or not, but what way to go. And I think she has to do what she feels too. She could do a lot more things for herself and for people, but she's like with a door in front of her that she doesn't let anybody pass through that door, and she doesn't let her feelings go out, like spread them out and really cry about something that she's heard, or when she was little, or she had a partner that she really loved and he went away and ¿cómo se dice? Engañó. He lied to her, and she really believed in him. When she felt another thing, she knew what was going to happen, and she never followed her feelings or what she thought. She said, no, here it is, and he's for me, and we're going to be happy. But he wasn't. He was a person that she thought, but she never heard her feelings really inside her, and she's very hurt for that. And before that, she had a door. Now she has like 3 more. So it's really difficult to follow something if she doesn't open, first of all, to herself, so she can open and follow what she needs to go to. You want me to tell you another thing? Did I answer your question? He's a guy, well, it's the pictures that they take like for school or in studio. He has blonde hair with a like brown t-shirt and it's not necklace, it's like the black leather necklace with a silver thing in the middle, a little one. He had jeans and tennis shoes. What do you want me to tell you?
How can we serve him?
How?
His parents, how can we serve him?
How can he serve him?
How the parents can serve him.
To evolve.
To help him?
Yes.
The parents weren't there when he really needed them when he was little. Well, not little, like 3 or 5 years ago. So now it's like a revenge to them, what he's doing to them. You know, like, you didn't help me, now I'm going to do whatever I want. And he cares, but he's going too far because he's getting along with friends that they are not really good, and they are not really good relationships for him. And he's getting into the same things that they are because he's not a bad boy. He learned about his house and how he was treated to tell lies, like he's sent to psychologists and everything, and he lies that he goes and he doesn't go, or he lies that he goes to school and he's not in school. He lost a girlfriend that he really loved because of the same thing, and he's also very hurt about it. She could do something for him, but the girl was also so hurt by him that she doesn't want to see him, and she could help her. And her mom could help him by talking with him, but with a lot of patience, and it's going to be very difficult. But what they didn't do years ago, if they really want to do something, they have to be patient with him and give him a lot of love and understand him a little bit, that it's not his fault, it's also their fault. And the psychologist and telling him that you have to do this and do that, it's not going to help at all. What he wants, he was very stopped all the time when he was little, so right now he's opened and he's doing whatever he wants to do. But right now he cannot have limits. He can be, instead of liberal, he can be more than liberal, go further than that. But with love and patience, her mom can do a lot. But if she really understands him and let him do whatever he wants to do, but with limits.
Is he an indigo child?
He's very smart, but he doesn't care about that right now. He's a very smart guy. I don't really know if but he has many predictions and dreams that next day he sees what he dreamed about, or things that he predicts about people and happen to that people. And he can make, when he tells, this is very dangerous, because he can, if he tells like that person is going to fall down, or that person is going to crash in her car or whatever, it can happen to that person, because everything is like a revenge to his parents, but he's only hurting himself and his parents. But he doesn't realize that right now. He's going to realize if someone doesn't talk to him and tell things how they are, he's not going to understand them until like 2 or 3 years.
Thank you.
Mami, si me das agua.
I couldn't hear that. What? Yes.
Well, the failure on our part that she mentioned 3 to 5 years ago, doesn't resonate, but if we failed, it probably wouldn't anyway. So it's cause to take a look at that and see, because he's definitely, the rest of what Inga said, it was right on. He doesn't have a girlfriend, though, not that we know of anyway.
There's a girl that he really liked and everything, and she really loved him, but he hurt her a lot.
That sounds like him.
Maybe it wasn't her girlfriend, but they were like really good friends, and they were like boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay, we're going to go into another one. I know you can't all see this, but some of you can. Where'd that come from?
She's a little girl holding like a bar, a wood fence with a pumpkin. And there's a big, where you put the plants, a flower pad, but it's dry. Has like a big plant, but it's kind of dry. She's a very happy girl. She has a lot of friends. She enjoys herself being in her room by herself, doing nothing, closing her eyes and being in her bed. and thinking or looking. Maybe she has like little stars that float in the dark, the ceiling of her, where she imagines them, and she loves that, just like looking at them.
What is her purpose in coming here to the planet now?
The microphone fell down. Falling down.
Oh, this part? Okay. It's all right. It can't go anywhere when you,
Okay.
when you stand up.
What is her purpose in life? She has to know it by herself. It's something that I cannot tell you. Something that she has to go on in life, and she's not going to discover it until like she's like 13 or 15 years old. But in the meantime, she loves also to write. Like she has she does every day, and she writes it. And there's a very special thing for her, like a box or something, where she keeps photographs or very special things for her, or like things that she thinks that it's going to be very for luck for her. And it's on the side of her bed. In her night table is on top. It's like a little box. Or do you want me to tell you something else?
Unless there's something specifically that you feel I should know. I should say to everyone sitting there, she's 16 months old, and she doesn't really write, but she does get out her magic markers, and she draws
it's in her
day.
mind.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to tell you. That I saw her in the picture, and she was really little to write, but maybe in a further time, she's going to know what she did every day when she was little, and what she needs. It's a lot of support and very to be very loved. She's very happy, and she loves life. She loves what she is. She doesn't have 16 months. She has a lot more.
Thank you.
It's like I looked at a 10-year-old girl instead of a 16-month girl.
Okay, we're only going to be able to take maybe two more. And so let me have this one here. Yes?
I would like to do one, but just to describe it with a
Okay.
but at the end, just to describe it, not to talk about what the person
Just to describe it.
a big one, if someone has.
Or if somebody has
Or
a
a
big one.
magazine or whatever.
Okay. This one here. Just
It's a little baby. He's like asleep in a pillow, in a white pillow. He's wrapped. He's with black hair. What do you want me to tell her?
Is she Does she have human DNA, or is she an indigo child? Or
she's going to have a very hard time in school later on because she is not like, and you maybe have noticed that she wants to be the best in the whatever she does. If she plays or she touches something, she wants to do it right. If not, she cries. And she has another type of things, but like for school, she's not going to be really good. And she wants to be good like in everything she does, but you cannot be good in everything you do. You have to have some errors. But you cannot be a perfect person.
is there a special interest or hobby that she will be involved with?
She's going to be very attracted to all the like spiritual or psychic things, but she's not going to develop it until she's older because of her friends. Because she's going to be a lot that what her friends do is what she wants to do. Like she always wants to be in group with having fun, and she doesn't like to be alone. So she's going like to discover it later on when she has more, she's going to be more mature.
This is going to be the last one, and then her mom is going to do something. I'm not exactly sure what. Oh yeah. Well, the last one was this. Okay. And this one. Okay. There you go.
Well, it's inside the house. He's holding the telephone, and he has a boy holding. He's like his older brother. Or they get along very well, that they are like brothers. What do you want me to tell you about the picture? About
anything you feel, anything you want to tell me.
He's a very independent boy, and he wants to do a lot of things that sometimes they don't let him to do. In school, in his house, with his grandparents. And the only person that he feels that he feels that understands him is her mom, more than everyone, and himself. he loves him very much, but he doesn't feel that he understands him the way he wants to. It's like a newspaper.
And she's going to read now the newspaper with her foot, with her shoe on.
There's a lot of flowers here, and here's white letters that it says adventure on the top. There are red letters that says Colorado, and there's like a ¿cómo se dice? The star, no, cohetes, the things are fireworks. This one is another newspaper. This one is another newspaper, and she's like lying down like that with a white t-shirt, and the coast of K2K, the girl in the picture.
This is very complex.
It's like the style of the Jewish Star of David. It has like a lot of lines and circles around it. Here there are letters explaining what it is here, and the little circles on the point of each where the star ends, and in the middle it's a big one with little signs around it. There's triangles all over and different colors, and the page is white.
Okay.
That's it?
Yeah, you can take it off. I think you can all see this is real. It's not happening here, it's happening all over the world now. And thank you, Inga. That was really good. Thank you.
Believing on me that it's very difficult right now that people does it.
It's going to get easier. You can imagine how hard it would be to have a boyfriend when you know everything he's thinking. But you realize we're coming to a time where there's not going to be any secrets. None. Everything will be exposed on every level of existence. And that's just the way it's going to be. And but this is a good thing, because the secrecy and all the hidden stuff that's in ourselves, it doesn't serve any purpose but the ego. And it ends up just creating wars and all the other things, and disease and everything else. This is about to end. And it's going to be the children of the world that are going to do this. Do you have one more thing you want to say?
I just just want to say that these kids, because we have a lot of Mexico, they can, with a picture, for example, my sister-in-law was in Houston with cancer in the brace. It was with a lot of pain, and my mother-in-law called me. We were in Mexico, and Inge just put the hand in the picture, and the pain was gone and never come back. So these kids can detect cancer by color before the cancer is there. And the kids even can help the people with a picture, even when the person is far away with pain, or detect sickness before they are there.
Yeah, they're doing the similarities between what I've seen them doing in Mexico and what they're doing in China is so much the same. It's pretty obvious that it's not just a phenomena that's local. It's spread out around the world. This is also going on in Japan that we know of too. I really think it's associated with the planet itself is just like a big brain. And you have the Western world and the Eastern world. And the Western world is very technological, and the Eastern side is different. It's more feminine in its nature. And it's the feminine aspect that is developing the psychic powers faster, and it's the masculine side that is developing the indigo types that are the technological genius wizards. And Mexico, though, is an interesting place in the world because if you believe Carole King, who was the first person, Carolyn King, I think it is, who was the first person to realize that the topographical surface of your body corresponds to the surface of the earth. That there's a place, every place in your body actually is like Italy's here and different places, and it's all there. And there's many people who can predict earthquakes because they can feel the feelings in a certain place, and they know what's about to happen somewhere else in the world. And she was the first person in the world ever to realize this. And underneath the left breast, in the side over here, entered in under here, coming in directly through there, is a particular place in Mexico. It's a mountain called Popo, which is sitting on the 19.5 southern latitude of the planet Earth, and it happens to be the heart of the world. And so it's no surprise to me that the psychic energies would begin to happen in Mexico, because it isn't the right brain, it's literally the heart. Okay, I hope this helped, so you can see what is about to come, what is actually not just about to come, it is happening. And the thing is that you can do all of these things that these children can do. And you can do anything if you just open your heart, you feel compassion, you begin to realize that all things are interconnected. And by doing so, you can change your DNA along with them, and your whole life can totally accelerate if you simply allow it to be. I really believe this. And or I wouldn't be standing up here going through all this. And we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to explore a couple other ways that we can do to follow what the children are doing. Okay, thank you. Slowly come back in your bodies. And as long as you can, remember and just stay there, especially when you're in the grocery stores or whatever you're doing. Just all of this information you've been given today is a blessing to all of us, but it's through actual experience. It's not reading or hearing or anything else. It's through actual experience that change takes place. And these kind of changes take place really more easily in meditation. And in the presence of God, they can become real. And you saw Ingra, you saw the children. When you go home and you see your own children or your grandchildren or your neighbor's children, realize that you're looking at the future of a new humanity here in this world. And it's just extraordinary what's going on. I was going to close right now, but I have somebody came here, an old friend, who I would like to just introduce right at the very, very end. Are you here, Greg? Come on up here. This is Greg Braden. Yep. I don't know.
Okay, so how much time do I have? Just kidding. This is actually this may be more appropriate than maybe either Drew or I had realized until about 30 minutes ago. We were at another event here on another part of Denver, and I realized on the way down it's 13 years ago this month that you and I met one another for the first time.
Really?
So this is our anniversary, our 13-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Well, where's the cake?
We're at Tom Park. Well, I thought we were going to sneak in the back door, and I haven't heard a Drunvalo workshop since 1988, so I need a Drunvalo fix just for a few moments. And I know it's been a long day, and I know you've had some really wonderful information here today. So I'd just like to say thank you for your dedication and willingness, your commitment to take the time from your families and your friends and your jobs and come together in moments like this. And I really have to say, we walked in the front door of the hotel, and we always know that when we come together like this, it's a sacred moment. We know that. And I have to say, as we're walking down the hall, in addition to the sacredness, it felt very holy. It felt a tremendous sense of holiness coming into this room. And that's a tribute to you and to Mr. Tom Park, who put all this together, wherever he is, in the back of the room, and to each of you. So I'd like to say thank you for all the work that you're doing in your lives and in your families. Denver and Boulder is where it's at this weekend. This is the fourth annual New Age trade show where all the publishers from all over the world come together to look at material. Your book is there, by the way. To look at all the new material that's come together over the last year that's going to go out for the next year. And there were people there that really were torn. They wanted to be here with you this weekend, and they asked us to send our love and blessings. So thank you, and thank you for your work in the science of compassion. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Greg has done so much good work for the world, and I really thank you, Greg, for just being alive. Thank you. Okay, everybody, this was good, and thank you. And until we meet next time, namaste.